Dear Attorney General Barr and Senator Graham, time is running out to expose Spygate, Russiagate, and the impeachment coup. Hello, this is Robert Romano, Vice President of Public Policy with Americans for Limited Government, dailytorch.com. Hit that subscribe button. Today we're going to be talking about the House's quest to impeach President Donald Trump, and where it might lead the country and shred the Constitution, essentially. In just one short year, the American people are going to be heading back to the polls in 2020 for the presidential election, and they're going to determine ultimately whether President Trump will remain in office or not. If that is, if Republicans, hold together and don't allow this coup to be successful. But the problem is that we're no closer to piercing the veil of what really happened in 2016 when the Obama administration, intelligence agencies, and the Justice Department falsely accused President Trump and his campaign of being Russian agents, that somehow they were involved with the Russian hack of the DNC and John Podesta emails and putting them onto WikiLeaks. This was formulated by former British spy Christopher Steele and other foreign intelligence agencies, if all reports are to be believed, that was fed to the Justice Department and to the Carter Page FISA warrant application that began in October of 2016. It carried over. The last application was approved in June of 2017. So you had the Obama administration using the most top secret surveillance powers in the country to spy on the opposition party, the Trump campaign, and the Republican Party in an election year. And it was based upon bogus allegations. We know that now because of the Robert Mueller report. Special counsel, he was appointed by Rod Rosenstein, Deputy Attorney General at the time in 2017, to look into these allegations. And we know for a fact now that it was all fake and fraudulent because the report found, quote, the investigation did not establish that members of the Trump campaign conspired or coordinated with the Russian government in its election interference activities. And, quote, the evidence does not establish that the president was involved in an underlying crime related to Russian election interference. And that included Paul Manafort, Carter Page, George Papadopoulos, Michael Flynn, Roger Stone. Nobody was found guilty of a crime related to the hacking of the DNC, John Podesta, or putting emails on WikiLeaks, or any Russian election interference activities. It just didn't happen. There weren't any Americans involved with that. And so the allegations that were given by a former British spy, Christopher Steele, paid for by the DNC, the Hillary Clinton campaign, and Fusion GPS, and fed to the Justice Department outlining this conspiracy, it was false. And so you went through 3 years of putting this country through this nightmare. And now the Democrats in Congress want to impeach President Trump over much the same types of allegations. In my opinion, this was a crime. This was an act of war on the Constitution and the American people to overturn the 2016 election. And now they're moving forward with the coup. They're going to use secret witnesses. They'll do whatever it takes. They're going to not allow this whistleblower to ever testify. That's my opinion. So the Senate, they're going to have to call the whistleblower to testify. These allegations are just fallacious and phony. This August 12th whistleblower allegation was based upon hearsay, and he said he wasn't a witness to the events, but we know that the whistleblower was said to be a CIA officer. So you have, again, intelligence officials leading the charge on trying to get rid of President Donald Trump. The complaint clearly states, quote, I have received information from multiple U.S. government officials, et cetera, and he accused Attorney General Barr of working with the president to, quote, use power of the office to solicit interference from a foreign country in the 2020 U.S. election. Well, that's rich. Their definition of the impeachable offense, the interference, is seeking to get to the bottom of who made these reckless allegations against President Trump and the Republican Party in 2016 in the first place, and who really interfered in the 2016 elections. Read that carefully. Getting to the bottom of the foreign 2016 election interference by asking who would interfered in our elections. In the CIA so-called whistleblower's eyes, that's the election interference. Or maybe it's aimed at covering up the crimes they committed in 2016. Let's go with that. The allegations appear to have included foreign governments, but also the Obama administration, former Vice President Joe Biden, who oversaw Obama's Ukraine policy back in 2016 and 2014. Joe Biden, he bragged about helping to overthrow the president of Ukraine back in late 2013, early 2014. In his book, he bragged about getting the prosecutor general fired. In Victor Shokin back in 2016, Biden said he was threatening $1.2 billion of loan guarantees unless this Shokin was fired. And then later, Shokin's successor, Prosecutor General Lutsenko, he says that the Ukrainian U.S. ambassador to Ukraine was tried to get the prosecutors fired in Ukraine as well, and that they gave him the ambassador did a do not prosecute list. And supposedly the Bidens and Burisma were a part of that do not prosecute list. And so the United States is being accused of major corruption by Ukraine's prosecutors general, and basically to do with covering up supposed investigations into Burisma, which Hunter Biden, Joe Biden's son, served on the board of directors of. They were the U.S. ambassador to Ukraine wanted prosecutors fired as well, who were anti-corruption prosecutors, and those are really serious allegations, and I think have undermined U.S.-Ukrainian relations. So President Trump is trying to get to the bottom of not only the corruption, but Ukraine's potential involvement in the 2016 election interference of this Russiagate conspiracy theory that the president was some sort of Russian agent. So if Ukrainians were involved in concocting the allegations, we saw this report in 2017, Ukrainian efforts from Politico. Ukrainian efforts to sabotage Trump backfire. Donald Trump wasn't the only candidate whose campaign was boosted by officials of a former Soviet bloc country. Ukrainian officials tried to help Hillary Clinton and undermine Trump by publicly questioning his fitness for office. They also disseminated documents implicating a top Trump aide in corruption and suggested they were investigating the matter only to back away after the election. And they helped Clinton's allies research damaging information on Trump and his advisors, a political investigation found. And so Ukraine's in up to their eyeballs on these efforts to make Trump appear to be corrupt or a Russian agent and members of his campaign. We know for a fact that that investigation occurred, that Paul Manafort was at the center of it because he was Viktor Yanukovych's advisor. But here's the thing, Manafort was never brought up on charges for conspiring with Russia to hack the elections or do anything like that. Everything that Manafort was brought up on were tax and financial crimes dating back years and had nothing to do with the 2016 election. And so these allegations against Trump simply were not true. And so the question becomes, how did Steele, Fusion GPS, the Clinton campaign, and the DNC come up with these allegations? And how did it become a national security investigation by intelligence agencies? It's clear to me, at least, that these latest allegations are once again by intelligence officials. They're designed to discredit preemptively anything that Attorney General Barr and U.S. Attorney John Durham are up to right now. We know that Durham is looking into Ukrainian involvement in the election. They issued a statement. Kerry Kupek, Justice Department, stated, quote, a Department of Justice team led by U.S. Attorney John Durham is separately exploring the extent to which a number of countries, including Ukraine, played a role in the counterintelligence investigation directed at the Trump campaign during the 2016 election. While the Attorney General has yet to contact Ukraine in connection with this investigation, certain Ukrainians who are not members of the government have volunteered information to Mr. Durham, which he is evaluating. So the Justice Department clearly is looking at at Ukrainian officials and their potential involvement in 2016 election interference. And just as soon as President Trump tries to solicit the cooperation of the president of Ukraine, President Volodymyr Zelensky, in a July 25 phone call, the next thing you know, the Democrats are trying to impeach President Trump, probably for trying to find out what really happened during the 2016 elections. I think that that's what's really going on here. And we need to get to the bottom of what really happened in 2016, or else this sort of thing is just going to happen again. When we know that I happen to believe that Attorney General Barr, he deserves a lot of credit for coming as far as he has with this investigation, but time's a critical factor. I mean, Trump could be ousted via the electoral process in 2020. He could be removed from office before 2020. And so but let's say Trump loses to Biden. Biden was in the room with the officials, including former President Obama, into early 2017 when it was decided that the fake investigation into the Trump campaign and transition would carry over into the Trump administration, and that former FBI director, James Comey, his job would be to lie to the president about the extent of the investigation. A January 2017 email that former National Security Advisor Susan Rice sent to herself on the day Trump was inaugurated was about a January 5th meeting in the Oval Office. And what it stated was, on January 5th, this is Susan Rice, following a briefing by IC leadership on Russian hacking during the 2016 presidential election, President Obama had a brief follow-on conversation with FBI Director Jim Comey and Deputy Attorney General Sally Yates in the Oval Office. Vice President Biden and I were also present. President Obama began the conversation by stressing his continued commitment to ensuring that every aspect of this issue is handled by the intelligence and law enforcement communities, quote, by the book. The president stressed that he is not asking about, initiating, or instructing anything from a law enforcement perspective. He reiterated that our law enforcement team needs to proceed as it would normally by the book. From a national security perspective, however, President Obama said he wanted to be sure that as we engage with the incoming team, we are mindful to ascertain if there is any reason that we cannot share information as it fully relates to Russia. The president asked Comey to inform him if anything changes in the next few weeks that should affect how we share classified information with the incoming team. Comey said he would. So that means that the Justice Department was keeping two sets of books. And you can ascertain this much from President Trump's letter firing James Comey. Dear Director Comey, while I appreciate you informing me on 3 separate occasions that I am not under investigation, I nevertheless concur with the judgment of the Justice Department that you are not able to effectively lead the Bureau. So Trump was telling Comey, you are lying to me about the extent of the investigation into me, the president, and so you're getting fired. So they were keeping 2 sets of books here, one detailing the investigation and its related efforts, and the other was some sort of sanitized version of intelligence given to President Trump and his national security team. There's simply no other way to explain how the White House could be kept out of the loop from one of the most top secret investigations that was occurring by the executive branch at the preceding president's behest. And so are President Trump and Attorney General Barr just supposed to play stupid and pretend that this wasn't already in the public record? I mean, of course they want to talk to Ukraine. Of course they want to find out about what was going on in 2016. There's too much public reporting that there was foreign agency efforts like Ukraine and other allies who were involved with this election interference, trying to make it look like President Trump was some sort of Russian agent when that wasn't true, according to Special Counsel Robert Mueller. Now we have the testimony from acting U.S. Ambassador to Ukraine, Bill Taylor. He suggests that President Trump is looking into Ukraine's involvement in election interference because out of political motives. No, it's an urgent matter to national security because it included bogus information about the president being a foreign agent. You can't have intelligence agencies, foreign and domestic, colluding together to try to make it look like the Republican nominee for president is a Russian agency when that's fake. That's not true. That can't be allowed to happen. And so and then just take the ambassador's testimony. I mean, this is pretty unbelievable. In his testimony, he seems to be more concerned about getting arms shipments to Ukraine so that the U.S. can fight a proxy war with Russia, which could, of course, lead to a wider war with Russia, which, humanity might not survive because it'll involve nuclear weapons, than he is with President Zelensky, who was elected on a peace platform, is in trying to resolve the civil war in Ukraine. So who's a better friend to Ukraine? President Trump, who wants to help Zelensky to resolve the civil war that the U.S. State Department helped to cause, or the State Department, which wants to depose Trump and keep the war going? I mean, Biden, again, he was bragging in his book about how he helped to overthrow the president of Ukraine. I mean, why would the Ukrainians want Joe Biden to win the election and come back and finish destroying their country? I think that and in any event, the whole reason why the U.S. was supporting a coup of Viktor Yanukovych in 2014 was to get a trade deal passed between the European Union and Ukraine. And again, Biden bragged about it in his book. I mean, if I'm Ukraine, I'm a little fearful that Joe Biden or some other Democrat's going to win the election in 2020 and that President Trump won't be around to protect them when they go into to finish destroying their country. I mean, it's just an unbelievable situation, and I'm saddened that this is what the country is being forced to evaluate right now. But getting to the bottom of what occurred in 2016, and again, the Justice Department is leading an investigation into that. It's not an impeachable offense. It's a function of the president's Article 2, Section 3 powers to, quote, take care that the laws be faithfully executed. Now, Obama basically had the same justification for investigating Trump, except it was based upon fake allegations. And when they knew it was fake, they never ended the investigation and come forward to tell the American people about it. And that's that's a shame, and it's a crime that the American people were not brought into the loop on this. And President Trump, of course, he's going to talk to the Ukrainian president. He wants to find out about the DNC server, CrowdStrike. He wants to find out what Ukraine did to cooperate in the counterintelligence investigation of the campaign, because that was interference, foreign interference in the election. So he has a right and responsibility. Ukraine actually sought mutual legal assistance in 2018. According to the John Solomon reporting from way back in April of 2019, before Zelensky was even elected, they were looking for help from Attorney General William Barr to evaluate the Burisma, the Biden connections, and this firing by Biden of the prosecutor general in Ukraine. They wanted to get it in front of the attorney general, and I think that that's legitimate. Well, of course, they wanted to get it in front of the attorney general. The U.S. is leading corruption in Ukraine since the coup, so the stakes going to be much higher. I think this is going to go down in history as like a turning point in this country, one way or another. I mean, either we're going to get to the bottom of how this military-industrial complex, this national security apparatus is interfering with our electoral processes, our political processes, and it's going to try to lead to the first removal of a president from office in American history. I mean, if that's not a coup, I don't know what is. Now, as for Senate Judiciary Committee, Lindsey Graham, he's weighed in on the use of secret witnesses. And he says, I'm going to let the whole world know that, what do you think about the fact that President Trump doesn't know who his accuser is? The fact is that the intelligence whistleblower is not being called to testify at all. He's being kept behind closed doors, and he met with the Intelligence Committee staff, and they probably helped to formulate his complaint. And so you have coordination between the intelligence community and Congress to try to remove President Trump from office under fallacious grounds, because Ukraine was requesting mutual legal assistance on these investigations back in April. So, and Trump didn't talk to Zelensky until July, so he couldn't very well been, having a quid pro quo. Where is it, in a time machine? But to conduct real oversight, Graham needs to call these people to testify. He needs to get the whistleblower, and they can do it behind closed doors and then release the transcript or something. But he has to hold votes to subpoena people, congressional Republicans who are reluctant to help President Trump and help the country get to the bottom of this coup. They're basically cowards, or they're stupid if they don't think that this can happen to another president. And this can happen to anyone. This could happen to a Republican, a Democrat. It doesn't matter. Here's a refresher, though, in case anyone still has any doubts. When former FBI Director James Comey presented the Steele dossier to then President-elect Trump in just January 2017, he was blackmailing him. He was threatening him. And he proved it when he lied to Trump about the extent of the investigation into him afterwards, which led directly to Comey being fired. And I think what the national security apparatus is telling President Trump, or any would-be president, you fight the wars we say to fight, or else we're coming to get you. You've seen this play out in Ukraine. They want to get the military aid there more than they want to stop the civil war there. To over 10,000 Ukrainians have died as the U.S. and Russia are fighting this proxy war over Ukraine, and it's destroying their country. It's the reason Zelensky got elected. In addition to fighting the corruption over there. So I think that Attorney General Barr, he should be helping President Zelensky and the Prosecutor General's office over there in Ukraine to help them get to the bottom of the corruption. And I hope they certainly help us get to the bottom of any intelligence involvement in the U.S. elections in 2016, because I think our country, our Constitution depends on it. This is about who runs this country and our foreign policy. And I'll leave you with the close here. Is it going to be elected president or the unelected, nameless, faceless bureaucrats of the administrative state? This is not about only whether 63 million Americans who voted for Trump are disenfranchised, but whether the entire body politic, the American people, are going to be disenfranchised and ruled under the boot heel of a high-tech surveillance state, a tyranny of our own making. Not in America, not while we still have the power to stop this. The bottom line is that if Barr, Durham, and Graham fail to hold the officials responsible for this hoax on the American people, this is going to happen again. And there's no telling what will be left of the Constitution or our free Republican system of government after that. This is no time for half measures. Attorney General Barr, you must ultimately succeed because time is running out on liberty. That's the commentary. This is Robert Romano, Vice President of Public Policy with Americans for Limited Government, dailytorch.com. Hit that subscribe button, ring the bell for notifications, and have a good day.